So this is it at last, contact with real life, I muttered as I ran headlong downstairs. This is very different from the Pope's leaving Rome and going to Brazil, very different from the ball on Lake Como. You are a scoundrel, a thought flashed through my mind. If you laugh at this now. No matter, I cried, answering myself. Now everything is lost. There was no trace to be seen of them, but that made no difference, I knew where they had gone. At the steps was standing a solitary night sledge driver in a rough peasant coat, powdered over with the still falling, wet, and as it were warm, snow. It was hot and steamy. The little shaggy piebald horse was also covered with snow and coughing, I remember that very well. I made a rush for the roughly made sledge, but as soon as I raised my foot to get into it, the recollection of how Semenov had just given me 6 rubles seemed to double me up and I tumbled into the sledge like a sack. No, I must do a great deal to make up for all that, I cried. But I will make up for it or perish on the spot this very night. Start. We set off. There was a perfect whirl in my head. They won't go down on their knees to beg for my friendship. That is a mirage, cheap mirage, revolting, romantic and fantastical. That's another ball on Lake Como. And so I am bound to slap Zverkov's face. It is my duty to. And so it is settled, I am flying to give him a slap in the face. Hurry up. The driver tugged at the reins. As soon as I go in I'll give it him. Ought I before giving him the slap to say a few words by way of preface? No. I'll simply go in and give it him. They will all be sitting in the drawing room, and he with Olympia on the sofa. That damned Olympia. She laughed at my looks on one occasion and refused me. I'll pull Olympia's hair, pull Zverkov's ears. No, better one ear and pull him by it round the room. Maybe they will all begin beating me and will kick me out. That's most likely indeed. No matter. Anyway, I shall first slap him. The initiative will be mine. And by the laws of honor that is everything. He will be branded and cannot wipe off the slap by any blows, by nothing but a duel. He will be forced to fight. And let them beat me now. Let them, the ungrateful wretches. Trudolyubov will beat me hardest, he is so strong. Ferfitchkin will be sure to catch hold sideways and tug at my hair. But no matter, no matter. That's what I am going for. The blockheads will be forced at last to see the tragedy of it all. When they drag me to the door I shall call out to them that in reality they are not worth my little finger. Get on, driver, get on. I cried to the driver. He started and flicked his whip, I shouted so savagely. We shall fight at daybreak, that's a settled thing. I've done with the office. Ferfitchkin made a joke about it just now. But where can I get pistols? Nonsense. I'll get my salary in advance and buy them. And powder and bullets? That's the second's business. And how can it all be done by daybreak? And where am I to get a second? I have no friends. Nonsense. I cried, lashing myself up more and more. It's of no consequence. The first person I meet in the street is bound to be my second, just as he would be bound to pull a drowning man out of water. The most eccentric things may happen. Even if I were to ask the director himself to be my second tomorrow, he would be bound to consent, if only from a feeling of chivalry and to keep the secret. Anton Antonitch. The fact is, that at that very minute the disgusting absurdity of my plan and the other side of the question was clearer and more vivid to my imagination than it could be to anyone on earth. But, get on, driver, get on, you rascal, get on. Ugh, sir, said the son of toil. Cold shivers suddenly ran down me. Wouldn't it be better to go straight home? My God, my God. Why did I invite myself to this dinner yesterday? But no, it's impossible. And my walking up and down for 3 hours from the table to the stove? No, they and no one else must pay for my walking up and down. They must wipe out this dishonor. Drive on. And what if they give me into custody? They won't dare. They'll be afraid of the scandal. And what if Zverkov is so contemptuous that he refuses to fight a duel? He is sure to, but in that case I'll show them. I will turn up at the posting station when he's setting off tomorrow, I'll catch him by the leg, I'll pull off his coat when he gets into the carriage. I'll get my teeth into his hand, I'll bite him. See what lengths you can drive a desperate man to. He may hit me on the head and they may belabor me from behind. I will shout to the assembled multitude, look at this young puppy who is driving off to captivate the Circassian girls after letting me spit in his face. Of course, after that everything will be over. The office will have vanished off the face of the earth. I shall be arrested, I shall be tried, I shall be dismissed from the service, thrown in prison, sent to Siberia. Never mind. In 15 years when they let me out of prison I will trudge off to him, a beggar in rags. I shall find him in some provincial town. He will be married and happy. He will have a grown-up daughter. I shall say to him, look, monster, at my hollow cheeks and my rags. I've lost everything, my career, my happiness, art, science, the woman I loved, and all through you. Here are pistols. I have come to discharge my pistol and I forgive you. Then I shall fire into the air and he will hear nothing more of me. I was actually on the point of tears, though I knew perfectly well at that moment that all this was out of Pushkin's Silvio and Lermontov's Masquerade. And all at once I felt horribly ashamed, so ashamed that I stopped the horse, got out of the sledge and stood still in the snow in the middle of the street. The driver gazed at me, sighing and astonished. What was I to do? I could not go on there, it was evidently stupid, and I could not leave things as they were because that would seem as though... Heavens, how could I leave things? And after such insults? No. I cried, throwing myself into the sledge again. It is ordained. It is fate. Drive on, drive on. And in my impatience I punched the sledge driver on the back of the neck. What are you up to? What are you hitting me for? The peasant shouted, but he whipped up his nag so that it began kicking. The wet snow was falling in big flakes. I unbuttoned myself regardless of it. I forgot everything else, for I had finally decided on the slap, and felt with horror that it was going to happen now at once and that no force could stop it. The deserted street lamps gleamed sullenly in the snowy darkness like torches at a funeral. The snow drifted under my greatcoat, under my coat, under my cravat, and melted there. I did not wrap myself up, all was lost anyway. At last we arrived. I jumped out, almost unconscious, ran up the steps and began knocking and kicking at the door. I felt fearfully weak, particularly in my legs and knees. The door was opened quickly as though they knew I was coming. As a fact, Simonov had warned them that perhaps another gentleman would arrive, and this was a place in which one had to give notice and to observe certain precautions. It was one of those millinery establishments, which were abolished by the police a good time ago. By day it really was a shop, but at night, if one had an introduction, one might visit it for other purposes. I walked rapidly through the dark shop into the familiar drawing room, where there was only one candle burning, and stood still in amazement. There was no one there. Where are they? I asked somebody. But by now, of course, they had separated. Before me was standing a person with a stupid smile, the madam herself who had seen me before. A minute later a door opened and another person came in. Taking no notice of anything, I strode about the room and, I believe, I talked to myself. I felt as though I had been saved from death and was conscious of this joyfully all over. I should have given that slap, I should certainly have given it. But now they were not here and everything had vanished and changed. I looked round. I could not realize my condition yet. I looked mechanically at the girl who had come in, and had a glimpse of a fresh, young, rather pale face with straight, dark eyebrows and with grave, as it were wondering, eyes that attracted me at once. I should have hated her if she had been smiling. I began looking at her more intently and, as it were, with effort. I had not fully collected my thoughts. There was something simple and good-natured in her face, but something strangely grave. I am sure that this stood in her way here, and no one of those fools had noticed her. She could not, however, have been called a beauty, though she was tall, strong-looking, and well-built. She was very simply dressed. Something loathsome stirred within me. I went straight up to her. I chanced to look into the glass. My harassed face struck me as revolting in the extreme, pale, angry, abject, with disheveled hair. No matter, I am glad of it, I thought. I am glad that I shall seem repulsive to her. I like that. 6. Somewhere behind a screen a clock began wheezing, as though oppressed by something, as though someone were strangling it. After an unnaturally prolonged wheezing there followed a shrill, nasty, and as it were unexpectedly rapid chime, as though someone were suddenly jumping forward. It struck 2. I woke up, though I had indeed not been asleep but lying half-conscious. It was almost completely dark in the narrow, cramped, low-pitched room, cumbered up with an enormous wardrobe and piles of cardboard boxes and all sorts of frippery and litter. The candle end that had been burning on the table was going out and gave a faint flicker from time to time. In a few minutes there would be complete darkness. I was not long in coming to myself. Everything came back to my mind at once, without an effort, as though it had been in ambush to pounce upon me again. And indeed, even while I was unconscious, a point seemed continually to remain in my memory unforgotten, and round it my dreams moved drearily. But strange to say, everything that had happened to me in that day seemed to me now, on waking, to be in the far, far away past, as though I had long, long ago lived all that down. My head was full of fumes. Something seemed to be hovering over me, rousing me, exciting me, and making me restless. Misery and spite seemed surging up in me again and seeking an outlet. Suddenly I saw beside me 2 wide-open eyes scrutinizing me curiously and persistently. The look in those eyes was coldly detached, sullen, as it were utterly remote. It weighed upon me. A grim idea came into my brain and passed all over my body, as a horrible sensation such as one feels when one goes into a damp and moldy cellar. There was something unnatural in those two eyes, beginning to look at me only now. I recalled, too, that during those 2 hours I had not said a single word to this creature, and had, in fact, considered it utterly superfluous. In fact, the silence had for some reason gratified me. Now I suddenly realized vividly the hideous idea, revolting as a spider, of vice, which, without love, grossly and shamelessly begins with that in which true love finds its consummation. For a long time we gazed at each other like that, but she did not drop her eyes before mine and her expression did not change, so that at last I felt uncomfortable. "What is your name?" I asked abruptly to put an end to it. "Liza," she answered almost in a whisper, but somehow far from graciously, and she turned her eyes away. I was silent. "What weather?" "The snow." "It's disgusting," I said, almost to myself, putting my arm under my head despondently, and gazing at the ceiling. She made no answer. This was horrible. "Have you always lived in Petersburg?" I asked a minute later, almost angrily, turning my head slightly towards her. "No." "Where do you come from?" "From Riga," she answered reluctantly. "Are you a German?" "No, Russian." "Have you been here long?" "Where?" "In this house." "A fortnight." She spoke more and more jerkily. The candle went out. I could no longer distinguish her face. "Have you a father and mother?" "Yes." "No." "I have." "Where are they?" "There. In Riga." "What are they?" "Oh, nothing." "Nothing? Why, what class are they?" "Tradespeople." "Have you always lived with them?" "Yes." "How old are you?" 20. "Why did you leave them?" "Oh, for no reason." That answer meant, "Let me alone, I feel sick, sad." We were silent. God knows why I did not go away. I felt myself more and more sick and dreary. The images of the previous day began of themselves, apart from my will, flitting through my memory in confusion. I suddenly recalled something I had seen that morning when, full of anxious thoughts, I was hurrying to the office. "I saw them carrying a coffin out yesterday and they nearly dropped it," I suddenly said aloud, not that I desired to open the conversation, but as it were by accident. "A coffin?" "Yes, in the Haymarket. They were bringing it up out of a cellar." "From a cellar?" "Not from a cellar but a basement." "Oh, you know. Down below." "From a house of ill fame. It was filthy all round. Eggshells, litter. A stench. It was loathsome." Silence. "A nasty day to be buried," I began, simply to avoid being silent. "Nasty in what way?" "The snow, the wet." "It makes no difference," she said suddenly after a brief silence. "No, it's horrid. The grave diggers must have sworn at getting drenched by the snow. And there must have been water in the grave." "Why water in the grave?" she asked with a sort of curiosity, but speaking even more harshly and abruptly than before. I suddenly began to feel provoked. "Why, there must have been water at the bottom a foot deep. You can't dig a dry grave in Volkovo Cemetery." "Why?" "What?" "Why, the place is waterlogged. It's a regular marsh. So they bury them in water. I've seen it myself. Many times." "Do you mean to say you don't mind how you die?" "But why should I die?" she answered as though defending herself. "Why, someday you will die and you will die just the same as that dead woman. She was a girl like you. She died of consumption. A wench would have died in hospital." "She was in debt to her madam," I retorted, more and more provoked by the discussion. "And went on earning money for her up to the end though she was in consumption. Some sledge drivers standing by were talking about her to some soldiers and telling them so. No doubt they knew her. They were laughing. They were going to meet in a pothouse to drink to her memory. A great deal of this was my invention." Silence followed, profound silence. She did not stir. "And is it better to die in a hospital? Isn't it just the same? Besides, why should I die?" she added irritably. "If not now, a little later." "Why a little later?" "Why indeed? Now you are young, pretty, fresh, you fetch a high price. But after another year of this life you will be very different, you will go off." "In a year?" "Anyway, in a year you will be worth less," I continued malignantly. "You will go from here to something lower, another house. A year later to a third, lower and lower, and in 7 years you will come to a basement in the Haymarket. That will be if you were lucky. But it would be much worse if you got some disease, consumption, say, and caught a chill or something or other. It's not easy to get over an illness in your way of life. If you catch anything you may not get rid of it. And so you would die. Oh well, then I shall die, she answered quite vindicatively, and she made a quick movement. But one is sorry. Sorry for whom? Sorry for life. Silence. Have you been engaged to be married? What's that to you? Oh, I'm not cross-examining you. It's nothing to me. Why are you so cross? Of course you may have had your own troubles. What is it to me? It's simply that I felt sorry. Sorry for whom? Sorry for you. No need, she whispered hardly audibly, and again made a faint movement. That incensed me at once. What? I was so gentle with her, and she... Why, do you think that you are on the right path? I don't think anything. That's what's wrong, that you don't think. Realize it while there is still time. There still is time. You are still young, good-looking. You might love, be married, be happy. Not all married women are happy, she snapped out in the rude, abrupt tone she had used at first. Not all, of course, but anyway it is much better than the life here. Infinitely better. Besides, with love one can live even without happiness. Even in sorrow life is sweet. Life is sweet however one lives. But here what is there but foulness? Phew. I turned away with disgust. I was no longer reasoning coldly. I began to feel myself what I was saying and warmed to the subject. I was already longing to expound the cherished ideas I had brooded over in my corner. Something suddenly flared up in me. An object had appeared before me. Never mind my being here, I am not an example for you. I am, perhaps, worse than you are. I was drunk when I came here, though, I hastened, however, to say in self-defense. Besides, a man is no example for a woman. It's a different thing. I may degrade and defile myself, but I am not anyone's slave. I come and go, and that's an end of it. I shake it off and I am a different man. But you are a slave from the start. Yes, a slave. You give up everything, your whole freedom. If you want to break your chains afterwards, you won't be able to, you will be more and more fast in the snares. It is an accursed bondage. I know it. I won't speak of anything else, maybe you won't understand, but tell me, no doubt you are in debt to your madam? There you see, I added, though she made no answer, but only listened in silence, entirely absorbed. That's a bondage for you. You will never buy your freedom. They will see to that. It's like selling your soul to the devil. And besides, perhaps I too am just as unlucky, how do you know, and wallow in the mud on purpose out of misery? You know, men take to drink from grief. Well, maybe I am here from grief. Come, tell me, what is there good here? Here you and I came together just now and did not say one word to one another all the time, and it was only afterwards you began staring at me like a wild creature, and I at you. Is that loving? Is that how one human being should meet another? It's hideous, that's what it is. Yes, she assented sharply and hurriedly. I was positively astounded by the promptitude of this yes. So the same thought may have been straying through her mind when she was staring at me just before. So she too was capable of certain thoughts? Damn it all, this was interesting, this was a point of likeness. I thought, almost rubbing my hands. And indeed it's easy to turn a young soul like that. It was the exercise of my power that attracted me most. She turned her head nearer to me, and it seemed to me in the darkness that she propped herself on her arm. Perhaps she was scrutinizing me. How I regretted that I could not see her eyes. I heard her deep breathing. Why have you come here? I asked her, with a note of authority already in my voice. Oh, I don't know. But how nice it would be to be living in your father's house. It's warm and free, you have a home of your own. But what if it's worse than this? I must take the right tone, flashed through my mind. I may not get far with sentimentality. But it was only a momentary thought. I swear she really did interest me. Besides, I was exhausted and moody. And cunning so easily goes hand in hand with feeling. Who denies it? I hastened to answer. Anything may happen. I am convinced that someone has wronged you, and that you are more sinned against than sinning. Of course, I know nothing of your story, but it's not likely a girl like you has come here of her own inclination. A girl like me? She whispered, hardly audibly, but I heard it. Damn it all, I was flattering her. That was horrid. But perhaps it was a good thing. She was silent. See, Liza, I will tell you about myself. If I had had a home from childhood, I shouldn't be what I am now. I often think that. However bad it may be at home, anyway they are your father and mother and not enemies, strangers. Once a year at least they'll show their love of you. Anyway, you know you are at home. I grew up without a home, and perhaps that's why I've turned so unfeeling. I waited again. Perhaps she doesn't understand, I thought, and indeed it is absurd, it's moralising. If I were a father and had a daughter, I believe I should love my daughter more than my sons, really. I began indirectly as though talking of something else to distract her attention. I must confess I blushed. Why so? She asked. So she was listening. I don't know, Liza. I knew a father who was a stern, austere man, but used to go down on his knees to his holy mystery and ought to be hidden from all other eyes whatever happens. That makes it holier and better. They respect one another more, and much is built on respect. And if once there has been love, if they have been married for love, why should love pass away? Surely one can keep it. It is rare that one cannot keep it. And if the husband is kind and straightforward, why should not love last? The first phase of married love will pass, it is true, but then there will come a love that is better still. Then there will be the union of souls, they will have everything in common, there will be no secrets between them. And once they have children, the most difficult times will seem to them happy, so long as there is love and courage. Even toil will be a joy, you may deny yourself bread for your children, and even that will be a joy, they will love you for it afterwards. So you are laying by for your future. As the children grow up, you feel that you are an example, a support for them. That even after you die, your children will always keep your thoughts and feelings, because they have received them from you, they will take on your semblance and likeness. So you see, this is a great duty. How can it fail to draw the father and mother nearer? People say it's a trial to have children. Who says that? It is heavenly happiness. Are you fond of little children, Liza? I'm awfully fond of them. You know, a little rosy baby boy at your bosom, and what husband's heart is not touched, seeing his wife nursing his child? A plump little rosy baby, sprawling and snuggling, chubby little hands and feet, clean tiny little nails, so tiny that it makes one laugh to look at them, eyes that look as if they understand everything. And while it sucks, it clutches at your bosom with its little hand, plays. When its father comes up, the child tears itself away from the bosom, flings itself back, looks at its father, laughs as though it were fearfully funny, and falls to sucking again. Or it will bite its mother's breast when its little teeth are coming, while it looks sideways at her with its little eyes as though to say, "Look, I am biting." Is not all that happiness when they are the three together, husband, wife and child? One can forgive a great deal for the sake of such moments. Yes, Liza, one must first learn to live oneself before one blames others. It's by pictures like that one must get at you, I thought to myself, though I did speak with real feeling, and all at once I flushed crimson. What if she were suddenly to burst out laughing? What should I do then? That idea drove me to fury. Towards the end of my speech I really was excited, and now my vanity was somehow wounded. The silence continued. I almost nudged her. "Why are you?" she began and stopped. But I understood. There was a quiver of something different in her voice, not abrupt, harsh and unyielding as before, but something soft and shamefaced, so shamefaced that I suddenly felt ashamed and guilty. "What?" I asked with tender curiosity. "Why you?" "What? Why you?" "Speak somehow like a book," she said, and again there was a note of irony in her voice. That remark sent a pang to my heart. It was not what I was expecting. I did not understand that she was hiding her feelings under irony, that this is usually the last refuge of modest and chaste-souled people when the privacy of their soul is coarsely and intrusively invaded, and that their pride makes them refuse to surrender till the last moment and shrink from giving expression to their feelings before you. I ought to have guessed the truth from the timidity with which she had repeatedly approached her sarcasm, only bringing herself to utter it at last with an effort. But I did not guess, and an evil feeling took possession of me. Wait a bit, I thought. Oh, hush, Liza. How can you talk about being like a book when it makes even me, an outsider, feel sick? Though I don't look at it as an outsider, for, indeed, it touches me to the heart. Is it possible that you do not feel sick at being here yourself? Evidently habit does wonders. God knows what habit can do with anyone. Can you seriously think that you will never grow old, that you will always be good-looking, and that they will keep you here forever and ever? I say nothing of the loathsomeness of the life here. Though let me tell you this about it, about your present life, I mean, here though you are young now, attractive, nice, with soul and feeling, yet you know as soon as I came to myself just now I felt at once sick at being here with you. One can only come here when one is drunk. But if you were anywhere else, living as good people live, I should perhaps be more than attracted by you, should fall in love with you, should be glad of a look from you, let alone a word. I should hang about your door, should go down on my knees to you, should look upon you as my betrothed and think it an honor to be allowed to. I should not dare to have an impure thought about you. But here, you see, I know that I have only to whistle and you have to come with me whether you like it or not. I don't consult your wishes but you mine. The lowest laborer hires himself as a workman, but he doesn't make a slave of himself altogether. Besides, he knows that he will be free again presently. But when are you free? Only think what you are giving up here? What is it you are making a slave of? It is your soul, together with your body. You are selling your soul which you have no right to dispose of. You give your love to be outraged by every drunkard. Well, but that's everything, it's a priceless diamond, it's a maiden's treasure, love. Why, a man would be ready to give his soul, to face death to gain that love. But how much is your love worth now? You are sold, all of you, body and soul, and there is no need to strive for love when you can have everything without love. And there is no greater insult to a girl than that, do you understand? To be sure, I have heard that they comfort you, poor fools, they let you have lovers of your own here. But that's simply a farce, that's simply a sham, it's just laughing at you and you are taken in by it. Why, do you suppose he really loves you, that lover of yours? I don't believe it. How can he love you when he knows you may be called away from him any minute? He would be a low fellow if he did. Will he have a grain of respect for you? What have you in common with him? He laughs at you and robs you, that is all his love amounts to. You are lucky if he does not beat you. Very likely he does beat you too. Ask him, if you have got one, whether he will marry you. He will laugh in your face if he doesn't spit in it or give you a blow, though maybe he is not worth a bad halfpenny himself. And for what have you ruined your life if you come to think of it? For the coffee they give you to drink and the plentiful meals? But with what object are they feeding you up? An honest girl couldn't swallow the food, for she would know what she was being fed for. You are in debt here, and, of course, you will always be in debt, and you will go on in debt to the end, till the visitors here begin to scorn you. And that will soon happen. Don't rely upon your youth, all that flies by express train here, You will be kicked out. And not simply kicked out. Long before that she'll begin nagging at you, scolding you, abusing you, as though you had not sacrificed your health for her, had not thrown away your youth and your soul for her benefit, but as though you had ruined her, beggared her, robbed her. And don't expect anyone to take your part. The others, your companions, will attack you too, win her favor, for all are in slavery here, and have lost all conscience and pity here long ago. They have become utterly vile, and nothing on earth is viler, more loathsome, and put themselves out for you. Let her down, Vanya. It's just like her luck, even here she is head foremost, the hussy. Shorten the cord, you rascal. It's all right as it is. All right, is it? Why, she's on her side. She was a fellow creature after all. But, never mind, throw the earth on her. And they won't care to waste much time quarreling over you. They will scatter the wet blue clay as quick as they can and go off to the tavern. And there your memory on earth will end. Other women have children to go to their graves, fathers, husbands. While for you neither tear, nor sigh, nor remembrance. No one in the whole world will ever come to you, your name will vanish from the face of the earth, as though you had never existed, never been born at all. Nothing but filth and mud, however you knock at your coffin lid at night, when the dead arise, however you cry, let me out, kind people, to live in the light of day. My life was no life at all, my life has been thrown away like a dishclout, it was drunk away in the tavern at the Haymarket. Let me out, kind people, to live in the world again. And I worked myself up to such a pitch that I began to have a lump in my throat myself, and all at once I stopped, sat up in dismay and bending over apprehensively began to listen with a beating heart. I had reason to be troubled. I had felt for some time that I was turning her soul upside down and rending her heart, and the more I was convinced of it, the more eagerly I desired to gain my object as quickly and as effectually as possible. It was the exercise of my skill that carried me away, yet it was not merely sport. I knew I was speaking stiffly, artificially, even bookishly. In fact, I could not speak except like a book. But that did not trouble me. I felt that I should be understood and that this very bookishness might be an assistance. But now, having attained my effect, I was suddenly panic-stricken. Never before had I witnessed such despair. She was lying on her face, thrusting her face into the pillow and clutching it in both hands. Her heart was being torn. Her youthful body was shuddering all over as though in convulsions. Suppressed sobs rent her bosom and suddenly burst out in weeping and wailing, then she pressed closer into the pillow. She did not want anyone here, not a living soul, to know of her anguish and her tears. She bit the pillow, bit her hand till it bled, or, thrusting her fingers into her disheveled hair, seemed rigid with the effort of restraint, holding her breath and clenching her teeth. I began saying something, begging her to calm herself, but felt that I did not dare, and all at once, in a sort of cold shiver, almost in terror, began fumbling in the dark, trying hurriedly to get dressed to go. It was dark, though I tried my best I could not finish dressing quickly. Suddenly I felt a box of matches and a candlestick with a whole candle in it. As soon as the room was lighted up, Liza sprang up, sat up in bed, and with a contorted face, with a half-insane smile, looked at me almost senselessly. I sat down beside her and took her hands. She came to herself, made an impulsive movement towards me, would have caught hold of me, but did not dare, and slowly bowed her head before me. "Liza, my dear, I was wrong." "Forgive me, my dear," I began, but she squeezed my hand in her fingers so tightly that I felt I was saying the wrong thing and stopped. "This is my address, Liza, come to me." "I will come," she answered resolutely, her head still bowed. "But now I am going, goodbye. Till we meet again." I got up. She too stood up and suddenly flushed all over, gave a shudder, snatched up a shawl that was lying on a chair and muffled herself in it to her chin. As she did this she gave another sickly smile, blushed and looked at me strangely. I felt wretched. I was in haste to get away, to disappear. "Wait a minute," she said suddenly, in the passage just at the doorway, stopping me with her hand on my overcoat. She put down the candle in hot haste and ran off. Evidently she had thought of something or wanted to show me something. As she ran away she flushed, her eyes shone, and there was a smile on her lips. What was the meaning of it? Against my will I waited. She came back a minute later with an expression that seemed to ask forgiveness for something. In fact, it was not the same face, not the same look as the evening before. Sullen, mistrustful and obstinate. Her eyes now were imploring, soft, and at the same time trustful, caressing, timid. The expression with which children look at people they are very fond of whom they are asking a favor. Her eyes were a light hazel, they were lovely eyes, full of life and capable of expressing love as well as sullen hatred. Making no explanation, as though I, as a sort of higher being, must understand everything without explanations, she held out a piece of paper to me. Her whole face was positively beaming at that instant with naive, almost childish triumph. I unfolded it. It was a letter to her from a medical student or someone of that sort, a very high-flown and flowery, but extremely respectful love letter. I don't recall the words now, but I remember well that through the high-flown phrases there was apparent a genuine feeling, which cannot be feigned. When I had finished reading it I met her glowing, questioning and childishly impatient eyes fixed upon me. She fastened her eyes upon my face and waited impatiently for what I should say. In a few words, hurriedly but with a sort of joy and pride, she explained to me that she had been to a dance somewhere in a private house, a family of very nice people, who knew nothing, absolutely nothing, for she had only come here so lately and it had all happened. And she hadn't made up her mind to stay and was certainly going away as soon as she had paid her debt. And at that party there had been the student who had danced with her all the evening. He had talked to her, and it turned out that he had known her in old days at Riga when he was a child. They had played together but a very long time ago, and he knew her parents, but about this he knew nothing whatever, and had no suspicion. And the day after the dance he had sent her that letter through the friend with whom she had gone to the party. And, well, that was all. She dropped her shining eyes with a sort of bashfulness as she finished. The poor girl was keeping that student's letter as a precious treasure, and had run to fetch it, her only treasure, because she did not want me to go away without knowing that she too was honestly and genuinely loved, that she too was addressed respectfully. No doubt that letter was destined to lie in her box and lead to nothing. But nonetheless I am certain that she would keep it all her life as a precious treasure, as her pride and justification. And now at such a minute she had thought of that letter and brought it with naive pride to raise herself in my eyes that I might see, that I too might think well of her. I said nothing, pressed her hand and went out. I so longed to get away. I walked all the way home in spite of the fact that the melting snow was still falling in heavy flakes. I was exhausted, shattered, in bewilderment. But behind the bewilderment the truth was already gleaming. The loathsome truth.